Like notes to the elders, these are the songs of our lives. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Songs of Our Lives. I'm Brad Rose. I am an artist, a composer, a writer, the founder of Foxy, Digitalis, and someone who thinks about music and sound far more than is healthy. Each week, I invite on a guest to talk about the music and the songs that have meant a lot to them and left their mark. Previous guests include Sarah Davachi, Claire Rousset, Maurice, Nick Zonka, I don't know, so many people. Darius Jones, that was a good one. Hope you listened to that one. But this week, I've got the one, the only Chuck Johnson on the show. I've known Chuck for quite a while, and he has a new album out called Sun Glories. Sun Glories, not Sun Gories. That would be that's like the Halloween version of it that doesn't exist. Sun Glories, which is out now on Western Vinyl, and it's kind of like, it's been out for a little bit, and I really love the record, but I feel like now that we're like into October and the temperatures dropped, it feels even closer. I don't know. I've been listening to it a lot the last like week or so. This episode was a lot of fun, especially because Chuck kind of he forgot to answer a couple of the questions, so it was very much off the top of his head, and we just kind of winged it, and it gives it a little bit of a different flavor, but it was a lot of fun, and I'm so appreciative that he just kind of stuck with it and we went for it. Yeah. So Chuck's got the album out now, and he's always doing stuff. He's always got stuff going on. He talks about he's got like this new duo with Cole Poulis. He's got did I say Poulis? Poulis. I don't even know how to say that. Anyway, and I think he's got some shows coming up. All that and more. There's links in the show notes to the album, to his website. You can find all that stuff there. So if you haven't heard Sun Glories, I highly recommend checking it out. It is a fantastic record. And otherwise, we recorded this a little while ago. Had a lot of fun. Hope you enjoy it. My guest today is a musician, a composer, a producer, an audio engineer. I don't know what all to call you, but it's a lot of things. It's Chuck Johnson. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Brad. Thanks for having me.
So you got a new record out. That's exciting. It's called Sun Glories. It's on Western Vinyl. I love the title, by the way. That's such a great title. Is there any like particular story behind it?
It's just sort of another way to describe solar glories. You know, it's just sort of an optical illusion that's created by the sun, or lots of different kinds of optical illusions. It's like a category, I guess. Sun glories, I don't know, it just has slightly better ring to it for me than solar glories. Yeah.
So I guess I've been listening to the record quite a bit and was reading the liner notes and all that stuff, and it talks a lot about themes of like time, memory, and illusion, as you were just talking about. I'm kind of curious what was it that like kind of pulled you in that direction, like digging into those themes through it, like sound and how those ideas kind of just resonate with your own experiences.
Well, the music, like as the album took form, it started to really feel like a summer record, which is, it's hard to explain exactly why. And I think part of that it might have to do with the last couple of winters, even though, you know, disclaimer, I live in California. We don't have harsh winters here in the Bay Area. But the last couple of winters have felt really long and wet and cold for me. And working on this record kind of, I don't know, supported this longing I was feeling for longer days and more sunshine, basically. And that brought me back to like why why do I long for that? What is it? And it's, there's obvious reasons of, it helps your mood, but but it's also wrapped up with a lot of nostalgia and about summer. And I think most people have some degree of nostalgia about summers from their childhood or just from the past in general. And that's where kind of like memory and the way memory distorts over time and things like that those ideas started to come in and just felt like they really fit with this music.
It does feel like a summer record, and I don't even know. I've said that about some of my own work before. People are like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I don't know. It's just, it just is."
Yeah.
But when you said that, I was like, "Yeah, it does." Like, and especially now, like summer is sort of winding down. I mean, it's still hot as all shit out here in Oklahoma, but yeah, I like that. And it's really interesting. Like for me, summer, because again, I think obviously as kids we have this memory of summer because that's when we're out of school and it's this free like time of free, do whatever I want. And now I have an 11-year-old, and so it's like I'm experiencing it from the other side, and I don't know, it's weird. I don't really know that has to do with anything, but
yeah.
The other thing I was really interested in, I think it was talked about this specifically with Telios, which is such a great piece of music, but the sort of the idea of like both linear and cyclical natures of time or aspects of time, which that's such something I think about, and any whole other rabbit hole go down. But I was just, could you talk about how you kind of try to approach that concept musically?
Yeah, so with Telios, and I think that also this also applies to Groundwave, another track on the record. The way the piece came together is it just felt more episodic than other work I've done in the last few years. So it's less of like with Balsams and the Cinder Grove, they're built around loops basically, and there are elements that just kind of repeat, but and very, very slightly over the course of like a longer, like 6 or 7 minute track. And Telios just kind of like, just sort of emerged as an idea that was more episodic. So that's sort of, I guess, where the linear aspect of time comes in, and just, like linear time. It's like you're talking about, you have an 11-year-old now, so I'm sure you experience linear time. It's front and center for you.
Right.
And every time a season comes, summer or any other season comes around, we kind of like, we're back in touch with this like cyclical nature of time, but it's always colored by these reminders that like, we're moving in a line.
Yes.
There's no avoiding it.
No. The other thing, so your band on this record is amazing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they are.
So I'll mention everybody just because everybody deserves a shout out. So you got Ryan Jewell, Cole Poulos, Clarice Jensen, and Emily Packard. Is that right? Did I get everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. How'd that group come together? Was it just certain songs needed certain things and you knew people and
yeah, it was just kind of like on a track by track basis, like each piece sort of like needed something, that I couldn't do. And with Sylvan Shine, like I've gotten to know Cole over the past couple years since they moved to the Bay Area, and just love their work. And the way Cole makes the saxophone sound like a human voice just really speaks to me, and it's like it has a lot in common with what I like about pedal steel. Not to mention the way that Cole manipulates the pitch, digitally in a way that's like creates these glissandos that the saxophone can't naturally do, right. And but it's also very organic and smooth,
Yeah.
So I've wanted to work with Cole and collaborate for a while, and we have formed a kind of a duo project that we've
Awesome.
done a show, and we have one coming up in October. But that track, Sylvanshine, yeah, it just seemed like a good one for Cole to add their voice to. Like the guitar piece is like almost just like little looped improvisation, and it's with little bits get added incrementally, but it's sort of the bass line that carries the harmonic movement of the piece. So I just asked Cole to come up with something that starts off like as a counterpoint with the bass, and then kind of take it from there. And I just love what Cole did. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, and with Ground Wave, that piece, the strings in that are those recordings are actually from a film score that I did early in the pandemic that Clarice and Emily recorded for. And I like to do for some reason with strings in particular, I like to take like maybe something I composed and had recorded, and then take those parts and then chop them up and rearrange them and kind of layer them in different ways. So with Ground Wave, it doesn't sound anything like the original composition. Some of those melodic lines are still in there, but now they're layered in different ways, and they're kind of like weaving around these clouds of pedal steel loops and melodies and things.
Love that.
And then the tracks that Ryan plays on just felt like they needed some kind of propulsion or momentum that I couldn't provide otherwise, And Ryan, I've seen Ryan play, and he's on a bunch of recordings that I love, and he's just such a great musician and has a really good ear. And he can do remote recording sessions. So he was in upstate New York, and I was in California, and I just sent him kind of the basic tracks, and he sets up a camera in the studio so you can kind of like have video chat while he's recording and stream in high resolution what he's recording in real time. And he just really nailed it. Like he dialed it in really quickly.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
When you are doing your tours, are any of them playing with you?
No. I'm doing the release show is going to be here in Oakland on September 19th, and I will have a band for that show, and Cole is playing. That's the only show that I'm planning to present the music that way. So it's kind of a special event.
Yeah. That's
otherwise
cool.
I'm going to play a few shows in the Northwest with a drummer friend of mine, but that'll be pretty different than the way the record sounds, I think.
Awesome.
But yeah,
just for fun of playing it live.
What's that?
That's the fun of playing it live, is you get to do it a whole different way.
For sure. And
I imagine all their trying to coordinate schedules would be a nightmare.
Yeah, logistically and financially hard to take a band on the road, So as much as I would love to, that would be a dream band for sure.
Yeah. The last thing, so every time I listen to the record and get to the end of it, like you said, I think this is part it feels like a summer record. And I think these kind of go hand in hand, but it also kind of, to me, it leaves me feeling like this sort of hopeful feeling. And I'm just curious, this is a big question, but in 2024, Chuck, what gives you hope?
Yeah. That's something I struggle with. I'm not by my nature an optimistic person. So 2024 has been
a relentless churn.
Yeah. Truly.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that there's some sense of that in the music, because I felt that in the music, and I wanted to convey that for sure.
That's good. Yeah.
So I guess if something I do, and if some intention in what I do comes across, then that gives me hope in 2024.
There you go. That's perfect. I understand. It's rough going these days. You got to find it where you can get it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this isn't much of a segue, but we're going to just dive into the meat of this thing now, which sounds absolutely disgusting. But as ever, going to start with, what is the first song that you remember?
that was a hard one because I mean, like I remember songs being sung to me as like the songs that children are taught to sing, you know.
Right.
But this first song on the radio, like when I
Mm.
was like I don't know 6 years old, I like to sleep with a radio
Hmm.
next to the bed. So a song that I think I'm sure that I heard and liked at that age would have been Donna Summer's "I Feel Love."
Oh, hell yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and then for some reason, like Jerry Rafferty's "Baker Street" is a familiar tune from that time. I don't know if I would consider like the first song I remember, but and I'm sorry if I'm throwing out titles that
Oh no,
aren't ones
it's
that
all
I
good.
provided. Um,
We're gonna make this work one way or another,
yeah,
man.
okay. And so like yeah, around that age, I started buying 7 inches. You know,
Oh
like
yeah,
they called them 45s then.
right.
But like yeah, for some reason like the Casablanca label was putting out a lot of 45s that I think the label on the record must have just drawn my eye because it looks like really
Mm,
tropical and fun.
yes, yes. I
But
can see it.
yeah, but that would have been like, you know, that would have included Kiss
Right.
and Donna Summer and Village People. So like those are all records that I would have had that, you know, the first music that I would have intentionally sought out, you know.
Yeah. Those are some good, man. I love Donna Summer. I mean, how can you not love Donna Summer? But
Yeah,
um, do you still have any of those records?
sadly no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that way about there's so many records that were like my early purchases that I sought out and I don't have them anymore and it kills me when I think about it.
Yeah.
But also I got too many records, so it's probably okay. Um,
Yeah.
was like growing up, was there a lot of music like in the house? Was there a lot of music? Were your parents listening to stuff or was it mainly like the radio was where you were?
We had one of those old console type stereos
Mhm.
that's like a giant piece of furniture in the living room.
Yep.
And the living room wasn't a place that we hung out very often because there was just another den, where we
Right.
would watch
Mhm.
TV and stuff. So I would go into the living room and play with that big stereo system. And there were a few records there like Christmas records.
Yeah.
and Herb Alpert records for some reason.
Yeah.
And then like I just loved the way the radio sounded on that old system too. Like the speakers
Mhm.
just so warm sounding. But otherwise, yeah, no one else in my family was a musician. So
Same. That's
yeah.
I people are always like, "How did you end up where you have?" I'm like, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
my family was supportive as I got into it, but none of them, could had any experience with it. Those consoles, I wish I had one. I always think about that someday because we didn't have one, but my grandparents did,
Yeah.
and I have these very distinct memories of Christmas at their house and listening to Christmas music on that
Yeah.
console, and it just sounded so good.
Yeah.
And I think I still I love Christmas music because of that. So
Yeah, same here. I
you should-
torment my friends every year and send them like I kind of rickroll them, but with that Johnny Mathis song "Sleigh Ride," which is like if you can picture it, then you're going to be mad at me because it's an earworm,
right?
that stays with you for a long time, and I'll just find ways to trick friends into like clicking on a link to that video. But yeah, those consoles, it's almost like they were made to play those old, those like classic Christmas records.
I know. I was talking about, I recorded one of these. I think it was with Wendy Eisenberg. I think that's where this came up a couple weeks ago. And they were saying because we were talking about Christmas music, and they were like, you got to put Fahey's Christmas album on in July. It's perfect summer music. And so I put it on the other day. I was like, yeah, this kind of rips in the summer. I'm kind of feeling this. So
yeah.
My wife wasn't stoked about it, but that was all right. Okay, well, what's a song that either makes you cry or makes you feel like, if it doesn't actually make you cry, makes you feel like you just feel sad? or happy.
It,
I mean, maybe it makes you happy cry.
yeah, I mean, I think those feelings are often combined, and
Mm-hmm.
they're hard to tease apart. And I think the best music kind of provides both feelings at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Goretzky's Symphony Number 3, but with Beth Gibbons from Portishead singing, is like I mean, it's a bold move to have someone who isn't classically trained sing that, but it was the perfect move. Yep. You know, like her.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I remember when this first hearing this and thinking, because like I love Portishead and I love but it was one of those moments of where it's like I knew she was incredible, but it was like, oh, she's like once in a lifetime incredible. Like, she's that person.
Yeah. To sing that in a way that's so is so vulnerable and really and like really does convey the feeling of the lyrics, you know, and the music. Yeah, it's just like it's flawless in a way.
It is,
you know.
Totally. Do you have like a favorite movement, or is it just kind of the whole thing?
It's like the whole thing. Yeah. Yeah.
So what's on the other side of that? What's the song that'll put you in a better mood?
Well, I mean, that puts me in a good mood. You know, like it's life affirming, even though it's, you know, the subject matter is horrific and tragic, and it's such a heart rendering performance. It's like, but that to me is life affirming, and that makes me feel good. And I had there was sort of a runner up for that in both senses, you know, like it's very, very it's sad, but also very life affirming. And by the end of it, I feel like I've experienced something that is joyful. And that's the new Jessica Kenny and Aiden Kang record, or the most recent one. There's a track on there called No Sound that is incredible. And again, I don't remember if I provided that on my list, but
I know that song. I've listened to that record a bunch. It is. It's life affirming is a really good way to describe it.
Yeah, but I mean, I get a little. It brings a tear to the eye at the same time. Yeah,
I really like that. I really like that kind of approach to this question, because it's like often my head goes like, there, you know, I don't know, something that's probably more would be like the best hype song or something that gets you kind of up and going, and that works too. Like, I mean, that's not, but I really like the kind of this approach to it, because it like, I know that feeling of where even if it's like super heavy or whatever, but it just makes you feel alive and all that entails.
Yeah.
That gets my juices going.
Same here. But like, so a more direct answer to a song that always puts me in a better mood would be it's the theme song from this show called Midnight Diner. It's a Japanese series.
I'm really curious about this after digging into it.
The artist is Suzuki Sunikichi, and I think the title is pronounced Omoide, but it's it's just a really tender, beautifully rendered acoustic guitar, kind of like almost like a folk song.
Yeah,
and it has like, the show is beautiful too. Like, I highly recommend that. I think it's maybe still available on Netflix.
Look, because I'm very curious.
It has, I don't know if you saw that film Perfect Days from last year's Wim Wenders film, but it's set in Tokyo. Midnight Diner is a similar sort of atmosphere and tone, and that like there's just like the main character is like runs a small, like a very tiny hole in the wall restaurant in Tokyo, and it's all about these characters, these people who are his regulars, who come through every night and it's a late night diner. And the guy who owns and operates the place cooks all the food, and the food is kind of a character in the show. Like each episode has the regulars, but also a new character who's coming in and has some emotional need that's being met by the food. And it's like,
oh wow,
it could be something that they request or that this chef decides they need. And but it's just very like, it's just very like a serene feeling when this food connects with the character and the way this, the way the chef, the main character, provides that. Yeah,
that sounds really, really up my alley.
Yeah. So when I hear that song, like I'm just suddenly put into that frame of mind. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I really loved this song. I'd never heard it, and so that made me. It was, it's like, well, this show is using this as the theme song. Like, this show's got to be good. Like,
yeah, it is.
That's awesome. Well, here's everybody's favorite question, Chuck. What is the greatest song, objectively the greatest song of all time?
I mean, this is one of those questions where it's best for me to answer with the first thing that comes to my mind, and not racking my brain for all the songs that I think are great.
Right.
But I can say that Queen's "Spread Your Wings."
Hell yes.
In this moment, sitting here talking to you, that feels like the best song of all times. Yeah. John
Deacon only writes bangers, man. Like, I swear, all the John Deacon Queen songs, it's like, dude.
Yeah. There's just something so like triumphant about that story, and the performance, and like I don't know if you've ever seen the video for it, but they're like air guitaring it or lip syncing it in like what looks like it must be like freezing cold, like tundra.
Yes. I think I read that they're actually in somebody's backyard.
Okay.
Like, I don't know, one of like maybe Brian's backyard, someone, I can't remember, but like, it's in their back garden, and it looks like they're out in this like frozen forest or something, and
like there's feet of snow on the ground, and they look really cold.
I feel like this is. Go ahead.
I think I read that Brian May had a decoy guitar made to shoot that video so that he wouldn't subject his actual guitarist to the cold.
That sounds
or maybe he made it himself. I guess he made his own guitars. So
he probably I kind of feel like this is such a sort of like underrated Queen song. Like, I mean, I don't hear a lot of people talking about it, and it's so it's like perfect.
I think it has all the qualities that that makes Queen great, and it just has that sense of like, this is starts off as kind of a sad story, and then has this triumphant feeling by the end.
Right. I love that. Well, what's a song that you used to love, but now if you've heard it recently, or if you think about it now, it doesn't really do it for you? Don't really love it anymore?
I mean, this may sound harsh, but like, and I won't. And this is one where I won't name any names because it would involve a lot of peers and friends of mine. But like, there's a slew of '90s indie rock songs that I probably loved at the time and listened to constantly, and now I just don't connect with anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to avoid specifics, but
fair.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it has to do with like, like we've been talking about, like this linear quality of time. There's some music that like resonates with a certain time in my life that, just doesn't now. And, but let's say a more neutral answer would be, one that I don't have any direct stake in would be, Flash by Green Velvet, which is a great track. And it has like an energy that I really related to when I first heard it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just the right song for the right time whenever I first encountered it. And I still listen to a lot of house and like minimal techno, and I make playlists and sometimes I'll DJ parties and play stuff like that. But I don't reach for that one, even though it's a banger. I don't know what it is I don't know if maybe it's the
Yeah.
production quality or it's just like the tempo, the drum sound isn't quite right for the kind of thing I like now. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It makes sense. Yeah, I hadn't thought about this song in a minute, but then I was like, I remember when I think the last time I really thought about Green Velvet was like when Death Grips came out and everyone was freaking out about it. I was like, man, it's like
yeah,
it's like Green Velvet walks so Death Grips could run. I don't know.
yeah.
But what you were saying about like, yeah, like there's a lot of like 90s indie, because I relate to that a lot too. And there's just, and yeah, the linear nature of time. It's like there's stuff that when I was in my teens or 20s, like, yeah, I felt that. I love, but it's like I'm 45 now. I got an 11-year-old kid. Like a lot of that. I mean, and there's plenty of stuff that still does, has stuck with me, but a lot of that stuff that I really associate with just being young and having like no, I don't know, responsibilities.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't. Yeah, I don't feel it now either. And I can listen to it and be like, yeah, this is still like there's still like a nostalgic connection or something, but
Sure.
it's just not the same.
Yeah. I think maybe what appealed at the time was just like just realizing like, oh yeah, we can just do this. We can just learn how to play instruments and write some songs and put records out and go on tour. And that was the spirit of the time. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the music is something that cycles back for me, like other music does.
Right. Well, what is a song that most people hate, or some group of people hate? People hate it, whoever they are, but you don't care because you love it no matter what.
Okay, so if by people we can mean my dog Bubbles,
absolutely,
who's an elder dachshund, who has very specific musical tastes, let's say, and has been. Bubbles is 16, and she's been involved in a lot of the music that's come out of this household, like Marielle's and mine. So like when Marielle had this band Date Palms, they would rehearse in the living room, and Bubbles, and they would kind of like sit in a circle, and Bubbles would sit in the middle of the room and would basically produce by if someone stepped too far out of the pocket, Bubbles would bark at them, and she would watch and listen, and if someone would, she just likes things to be. Bubbles loves ambient music. Basically, she really likes, her favorite artist. Is Chihei Takayama. Like, I kid you not.
That's
like
awesome.
It puts her it improves her mood no matter what. And if you're familiar with dachshunds, I mean, they have a very spirited bark, and it just cuts through everything that's happening. So we like to keep Bubbles happy when there's music on. So like something that I love that Bubbles does not like, but I've learned the hard way is David Bowie track "Boys Keep Swinging."
Man,
but it's been a while since I've tried it out on her though, and she has mellowed with age, so maybe it's time to try it out again. But yeah, there's certain kinds of like, there's a lot of rock music, probably a lot of like electronic music with beats that Bubbles has kind of kiboshed over the years. But that's one that definitely jumps out at me.
That is awesome. I love that. Do you consider yourself a romantic?
I do, and this relates to the what we were talking about music from the 90s. I saw a friend for his birthday party last weekend, and he's a bit older than me. Like I think he just turned 60, and he lived in San Francisco during the 90s. And I didn't. I was living in Chapel Hill, so I was kind of experiencing a different, like indie rock 90s music world over there. But there were San Francisco bands made it out there, and vice versa. So, again, not mentioning any names, but I asked him, so you lived here when so and so was active. Did you see them, and were you into that band? And he said, my problem with 90s music in general is that there's no romance. And I think by that he means, I think a lot of it comes through in the way music is produced, like music just from a few years earlier, like the Cocteau Twins or something, has the music is obviously very romantic, but so is the production, and there's music that's come out, I think, since the 90s that where people take more chances with production that you could say, the 90s production ethos was, and it works great for certain kinds of music, was very dry recordings and very natural room reverb, but no artificial reverb and things like that. And I think that's what my friend meant by that. And I relate to that. And in that sense, I'm a romantic. Like I like to use the studio in a way to make the music have a little extra, something.
Yeah. So what is the most romantic song?
What did I? Oh, Venus and Furs by Velvet Underground. And I'm not just trying to be sarcastic, like, because if anyone knows the song, they know that it's kind of like SANAM themes in that song. But like, there's something about in the lyrics, taken at face value, like they're really transmitting themes of surrendering, surrendering to and being healed by love, in spite of the music has these really abrasive tones, and the themes. I mean, at the time, the theme of the song would have been considered super transgressive,
Yeah, absolutely.
And was, I'm sure put a lot of people off.
Right.
But if you really listen to the words, like, that's a deeply romantic song.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's a great answer. Yeah. I kind of wondered because, when I get people's lists, I can't help but start trying to guess what they're going to answer what with. And this is one where it's like you can make a case for this being like the greatest song of all time, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
You can make a case for just about any song off that record.
Yeah.
And I don't know how romantic this is, but I always, every time I listen to this, the line of like, I'm tired, I'm weary, I could sleep for 1,000 years. I don't know if there's a line that resonates more deeply in my life right now. As here in 2024, where hope is hard to come by, like, wake me up in 1,000 years and let me know how it all turns out.
Sleeping for 1,000 years sounds great.
Yeah. Well, what is a song that changed your perspective on an artist, either for better or for worse?
So this one, I would say Pauline Oliveros is Rose Mountain Slow Runner. And it's Robert Ashley did this, the composer Robert Ashley did this television series called Music with Roots in the Ether in the 70s. And that Pauline piece appears in that show. I don't know if it appears anywhere else in any of her recordings. I've never seen it.
I don't think I've ever heard this, and I couldn't find anything anywhere. Like, I mean, I found, where it mentioned that it was in the series, but I've never heard this.
Yeah.
It kills me because I love Pauline.
Yeah, me too. And it's like so striking. It's just solo accordion and voice. And I highly recommend people watch that series, Music with Roots in the Ether. Like, Robert Ashley kind of approached each episode. Each episode is like a long form interview with one of his peers, basically different composers. There's one with David Behrman, one with Terry Riley, and there's several more. And each one is set up almost like as a performance piece. Like the setting is very intentional, and there's something else going on in each interview besides just the interview.
Oh, wow.
So in the interview with Pauline, she she's, it's, they're sitting in a room and they're talking to each other, and he's asking questions, she's answering, but while this is happening, someone is, Pauline starts the interview wearing her kind of normal clothes, which is like shirt and pants, and I think a little cap or something. And while the interview is taking place, someone is putting makeup on her and slowly changing her into a dress and almost doing this like drag performance as the interview is taking place. And then so there's, each episode has the interview and then also has a performance of like a longer piece. And yeah, that piece is that she performs is just accordion and voice. And I think it changed my perspective on her because I was familiar with her early electronic work and with some of the later like Deep Listening Band recordings. But at that time, I hadn't come across just the solo accordion work. And it's just so striking and just like really moving, like really, really deeply beautiful piece.
I'm going to really have to try and find those episodes because that sounds amazing.
Yeah, I think they're on YouTube.
Okay.
When I first came across, yeah, I know. When I first came across them, they were on Ubu Web, and they were such low resolution that it was just like a 2-inch square on the computer screen. And since then, now you can find them in higher resolution, and I totally recommend it.
Yeah. That's going up to the top of my list of things to do this week. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I love her. Yeah, her solo accordion. I don't remember when I first heard it, but I was more familiar with the other stuff, and it just kind of, I was like, gosh, it was like I felt like I had this sort of, I think, this picture of Pauline and her work, and then it just didn't so much shatter it or anything, but it was this whole other thing, like aspect to it, and it just made me like love her work and appreciate it on like an even deeper level because it just felt so, there was such a like vulnerability to it, and like it's so good.
I did find a recording of hers of what I'm sure would have been around that time, like a similar format for a composition, and it's called the Beauty of Sorrow. And I think that title captures what I love about that performance in the show. Like it's just nice. It is like you said, very vulnerable, and it's just kind of like unabashedly beautiful. And yeah.
Well, on a totally different tip from Pauline Oliveros, what are your favorite lyrics?
That's an interesting one for me because I don't listen to a lot of music with lyrics, and I don't often, it's not usually the focus of my attention.
Sure.
But so my answer is going to be kind of funny because it's a song that's sung in a language I don't understand.
Awesome.
But it's an Arabic language song by Hamza el Din called Mwasha.
Yeah,
and the line, because I love his music so much, and like I often look up the lyrics, the translations for his lyrics, because it's everything about it is so incredible, and the delivery of the lyrics, even if I don't understand them, included. So it helps me to know what he's saying. And the line from that song that I love so much is called Promise, or it goes, promise and puzzlement. I am not merciful in complaining about love. So this kind of relates to our talking about romance, I think.
Yeah. That's a great line. God, I love this piece of music. This track. This is so, I don't understand a word he's saying, and I too have looked up some of the lyrics and then don't remember it the next time I listen to the song at all, really. But his voice is just this other instrument, like along with like the oud or whatever, and his just the way he sings is so, it almost doesn't matter what he's saying, like because just the way he says it and sings it is so powerful and moving. It's he's one of those people who, like I always would say about, I don't know, I can't think of who. Like I was talking about Nina Simone on an episode recently. It's like Nina Simone could like sing the phone book and you would be transfixed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
yeah,
like he's got the same quality, like in a different way, but like it's the same thing. Like, whatever you're singing, man, I am wrapped.
Exactly. I got to see him perform once.
Oh wow!
It was at a Sufi music festival, and I don't know if he was Sufi, but if like that lyric reminds me of like Sufi poetry.
Yeah,
where connecting with beauty and with love is like it's this direct connection with the divine, and I think that that is the feeling I experience with this music.
Yeah, I love that. All right, on to bigger and better things. What is it? What is the song that you have or you can listen to the most?
This Mortal Coil's version of "Song to the Siren," the Tim Buckley song. Which is essentially the Cocteau Twins.
I was going to say it's basically like a Cocteau Twins.
Yeah, it is a Cocteau Twins. It's not. It's just that this Mortal Coil was kind of like a umbrella artist name for different 4AD artists on those albums. So I just love that. I love the song. I love the original, and I love their version of it. It's just incredible.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I could listen to this on a loop and never get mad.
Exactly.
What is the last song you completely fell in love with?
This group SANAM. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And I think they have one album as far as I know. And that the track 94 on that album, they're all good. Like all those tracks are amazing.
That record is incredible.
But there's like the way the dynamics build, and I really love the guitar sound and the vocal delivery and everything on that song. Yeah.
Yeah, I could do like a whole show on all, like Beirut there's so much incredible music coming out of there right now. Like I've gotten to know some of these people like in this band, like Anthony Sahyoun and then there's like Fadi Tabal, who's like the guy behind the scene. Like, I mean, he makes his own incredible music, but he's producing all this stuff. Like, it's unbelievable what's happening over there.
I feel like my window into that comes through a couple of artists, and actually, Heba Kadri, the mastering engineer, like because she ends up working with a lot of those artists and spreads the word about them, which I really appreciate. That's how I found out about SANAM, I'm pretty sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There's a label called Ruptured Records, which it's like kind of half based out of Beirut, half out of Montreal, maybe.
Okay.
The main guy who runs it, I think it's Zai. I don't know how to say anybody's name. It's like you read these names all the time, and then all of a sudden you have to say it. And you're like, shit. I think it's Ziad. Anyway, man, the amount of just like every time I get something from him, I just get excited. And also Beacon Sound, which out of Portland, they have like heavy connections to that whole scene. And like there was this record last year, 2 years ago, that Fadi Tabal did with Julia Sabra called Snakeskin. That is, I could get, like I said, I could do a whole show about this.
I wish you would. I'd like to know more.
I did like my old podcast that I don't do anymore. I did an episode where I interviewed Fadi, and it was pretty good. But I'll send you some links to stuff like on Ruptured that I've been obsessed with the last couple of years. There's the Mesa Jalad record, which is it's called The Battle of the Hotels, and it's all about like the Lebanese Civil War and stuff back in the.
Yeah.
It's just, anyway, yes. This SANAM record, it just, and this track, God, is that a guitar? Is that like, I don't even know, like the just, it is so electric, like, and not in a like electric, but it just sizzles.
Yeah. it has the energy that like it's the kind of energy I need to check in with in 2024 a lot.
For sure.
And it just helps me maybe channel a lot of feelings that I have about the world right now.
Yes.
And
That is really
focus,
true.
It really has that energy. And yeah, again, I'd love to see translations of the lyrics and have that additional level to appreciate it on. But
right. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, this is another one of those things where I don't know what is being sung, but like you can just still feel you can like feel the words. You can feel, you know what I mean? But yeah, I would love to know the translations too. That's, I think, on that Battle of the Hotels record, I got a translation of the lyrics from when I got PR for it or something. I'll look for. I'm making a note here, and I'm gonna send that to you when we're done. So I'm glad everybody gets to hear this. But everybody go check out all this stuff because it's so fucking good.
Yeah. Yeah, again, like gratitude to Heba Cabri for making me aware of that band a few years ago. Yeah.
That's awesome.
By posting about it. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're down to the last two questions, two big questions. So the first one is, what is the song that means the most to you? And not necessarily because of the song itself, but you associate it with someone or something or whatever.
Yeah, I have to say there's probably, I've been trying to focus these answers on songs and like I listened to Tashi's interview and I really love how he expanded that definition with his answers.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, this is another one that's going to come off the top of my head, Brad.
Perfect. Let's do it.
I think David Bowie's Quicksand. And it has to do with, the time in my life that I encountered it and the person who introduced me to it. And just that it's remained one of those, for me, like in the cyclical nature of time sense, a song that just keeps looping back around. It doesn't get left in the past for me. So
yeah, it's a great song, man.
Yeah,
this is I was saying this to somebody yesterday. I was recording one of these. How eventually I want to do like some short episodes, probably just for the Patreon, that are artist specific. So it's like I have somebody on, but it's like all your answers have to be one artist.
Yeah,
Bowie would be a perfect subject for like. Yeah, I could probably answer all these questions with some David Bowie song.
For sure.
All right. Well, last question in this moment in time, anyway. Right now, what is your favorite song?
There is the My Bloody Valentine album that came out. The last one they did in 2014 or something now.
Something, yeah, somewhere in there. Yep.
There's one song on there that has been over the last couple of years, one that I keep pulling out and playing, and it's the track Only Tomorrow. And it just has a really, really special guitar sound. And like, this is the reason why I listen to some things over and over, is like, there might be one sound in there that I'm just like, I really want to understand how that happened. And, I love that band. I have since I was a lot younger. But there's something they did on that track that Kevin Shields did to his guitar sound that I really, really want to know how he did it. And it kind of kicks in on the choruses, and it makes what starts off as like a already pretty dense, kind of loud song just somehow seem to get continually louder, and the dynamics just pile on that song. It has a lot to do with these guitar sounds, but it's a great song. I just think it's,
I can so relate to that though too. Like, there will be things that I get sort of obsessed with for like a very specific reason, where like I'll listen to it with my wife or something. She's like, "Yeah, it's a cool song." I'm like, "Yeah, it's good, but it's this, it's this one thing about it that I can't get enough of, and I don't know."
Right.
And this kind of also goes back to the thing I've talked about before. Like, I really like when I hear something that kind of confuses me, like I can't figure it out or something. That makes me like I want to listen to it more and either try to figure it out or just sort of bask in the not knowing.
Yeah.
Because it's like I've been making music and doing stuff for a long time, and I feel like I know how to do a lot of things. So I get really excited when I find something that is just I have no clue.
Yeah. I kind of live for that feeling, you know.
Yes.
Like, and it's like that song, I wouldn't say it's the best example of songwriting or composition, you know, or other metrics you might use to like define best song or favorite, you know.
Sure.
But it's a favorite in the sense that like I play it a lot. And especially when I'm like the last couple of years I've been working on some guitar music for the first time in a while and trying to like figure out how to use noise and distortion in a way that is soft isn't the right word, but like warm and enveloping and not necessarily abrasive, not a barrier into the music, but like almost like an invitation into it.
Yes.
And that it's really hard to do. And, you know, MBV, they're masters of that. And that song is like maybe with their best example of being able to do that, I think.
Yes. That's perfect. I love it. Well, this was a lot of fun. We got here in the end. Thank you so much for taking the time. Everybody check out Sun Glories, which is out now in Western Vinyl. And Chuck may be coming to a city near you. Or to your city. I don't know.
Going to a lot of them. But yeah, awesome. Thanks a lot, Brad.
All right. Once again, thank you to Chuck Johnson for taking the time out and for pushing through and getting this episode done. You can get Sun Glories, which is out now. Link in the show notes. Highly recommend it. I kind of want to pick up the vinyl of it because I feel like it's a record that, I don't know, it just lends itself to that. And the album cover is really beautiful, and I'd like to see the big 12x12 version of that rather than just seeing it on a screen. Yeah, and check out his picks at the link in the show notes. As ever, appreciate if you enjoy the show, leave a rating or review or both or whatever, wherever you listen to this. That kind of stuff really helps. If you really like the show and just want to support it a little bit more, you can join the Patreon, patreon.com/Foxy Digitalis. As little as $3 a month, you get full unabridged episodes. There's a whole special section that's only on the Patreon episodes, and you get them a week early, plus other stuff. So, something to think about, but hey, if that's not for you, take that $3, take that $5, however much, put it towards Sun Glories, and you'll be living the good life. All right, until next time, y'all, keep on listening whatever the hell you want.